Hey everybody, Kevin Fickling here, back with another video. I have a really exciting new lens I want to share with you guys today. Light Lens Labs and the US distributor David Chen were nice enough to send me a pre-production sample of the new 50mm Cooke Speed Pancro replica that they're going to be coming out with here in the next year. I currently own the 50mm f2 L-can and the 35mm 8-element in a special titanium body that they recreated. I made a video on this lens that I absolutely love, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Before I get too far into the video, I did just want to mention that this is a pre-production lens and quite a few elements of the cosmetics and the build quality and materials will change in the production version. Some of the main changes that you'll see is the body is going to change to a solid brass construction. The lens hood will go away from the screw-on type that you see here and go to a very cool, like collectible style hood that's going for crazy money today that clips on here, so they're also going to recreate that look. As well as a black paint finish versus this matte black anodizing that you see here. Another thing I'm really excited about is not only are they going to offer this lens in the M mount that you see here, but they're also going to do a PL mount for cinema cameras. It's also going to feature a traditional cinema style body with focus gears for motors and things like that, so I'm super excited to get that version as well. Not only are they throwing back to the optics of this old lens, but little details like this focus tab that you see here kind of throws back to the old vintage cinema lenses. And like I said, the new hood that's going to come with this is really cool, very old school looking. So what I really like that they're doing is they're not only recreating the optical form of the old lenses, but they're really doing a throwback to the old classic cinema lenses with body designs and the focus tabs and the hood. So really excited to see all the production versions of those parts. Something quickly I wanted to mention also is just the build quality of these lenses. For the cost, and not even that, just compared to any lenses, I own a ton of Leica lenses and different things, old and new, and the build quality is second to none on these. It's really impressive every time I pick up one of these lenses. So you might be asking, why another 50mm lens? And I kind of said the same thing, but I am a lover of 50mm. I own probably 10 different versions for Leica M, Leica Zeiss lenses, Russian lenses, old things like this version 1 collapsible Summicron that I absolutely love, all the way to modern things like the Noctiluxes and the Summoluxes. So I absolutely love 50mm, but at this point for me to want to buy something new, it's really got to give me a unique look that none of the other lenses can produce. For over 100 years, Cooke has made absolutely legendary lenses for Hollywood and television, and you've probably heard the term the Leica look, right? And that has to do with the optical formula and the micro contrast and the separation and the creamy out of focus areas that Leica lenses produce. But in Hollywood, you'll hear a term called the Cooke look, and a lot of cinematographers absolutely love their rendering. And nowadays, a big phenomenon in Hollywood and videos is they're actually trying to soften the sharpness of all these amazing high-resolution digital cameras. So the idea is to put a vintage lens that kind of softens things and gives some beautiful highlights and some blooms and some character to the image on these high-resolution sensors to actually kind of dumb them down, because stuff is becoming so sharp and so high-resolution that, yeah, the cinematographers really want to kind of tone that down and bring some more character into the image and not have it so technically perfect. So the Cooke Speed Pancro lenses came out in the mid-1920s, and they were even used in 1927 to film the first movie that had sound. So to say they're legendary is probably an understatement. So what people do nowadays, before these are going to come out, is they buy the original Cooke lenses from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, and they do what's called rehousing. So they actually take the optics out of the lens, because a lot of the mounts and the housings, they're these weird shapes, and for old camera systems that don't exist anymore, you know, using film and different things back then. So a lot of the mounts and things like that have standardized to something called PL, or, you know, on the still camera we have the M mount. So people take these old lenses, they take the optics out, put them in a new housing or convert the mount, and then they use them on the modern cameras. So with the popularity of these lenses going through the roof recently, the cost has also gone crazy high, like all this other Leica and film things that we know about. But the Cooke lenses now, the original Speed Pancros, start around $4,000 for an undesirable housing and copy, and this is before you can even mount it on a camera, probably in that $4,000 to $6,000 range. And once they've been rehoused, you know, they're going for $10,000 up to $30,000, depending on the focal length and version that they're using. I've always been tempted to pick one of these lenses up that's been converted to M mount. So there's more than just the Cooke lenses. There's Arri lenses, there's Angenieux lenses, the Cooke lenses, of course. But the problem with that is it's always like some guy in his shed in Japan or Germany has converted the lens and put a different mount on it, and the housing looks weird, and you don't know if the rangefinder coupling is going to work. So, and people ask, you know, $8,000, $15,000 for these lenses, and the price is all over the place. So there's no real like standard way to say, oh, this lens has been converted properly or it's functional. So you kind of roll the dice, and for me, that's just too much money to spend on something like that. So being able to get a serial production new lens, you know, that replicates the optical formula, the original, without any of those drawbacks that I talked about, I'm super excited to get one for myself. So to test it, I tried a few different cameras. I took it out on the M7 in my studio here with some HB5 pushed to 1600. I shot it on color on the M, and of course I shot it on my M10 monochrome, my favorite digital camera of all time. So I wasn't super surprised by the rendering of this lens. I've shot the original Cooke lenses on a cinema camera. I've never got to try them on a still camera, but I do have a pretty good idea of how they render, the out of focus areas. They have amazing soap bubble bokeh, and like all the other Light Lens Labs replicas, this thing does an amazing job replicating that classic vintage look. So I think what attracts people to these original Cooke lenses is that they really kind of blend the modern and vintage feel. They were really ahead of their time back in the day, and some of the first lenses to feature hand-polished spherical elements as much as like 40 years before, you know, people are talking about the Leica, the Noctilux, and the 51.2 and things like that. So Cooke has really been ahead of their time. So I think that, you know, you have some of that modern sharpness, but then you have some of the glow, but you still have micro contrast, and you definitely get that vintage bokeh. So the lens just kind of has a lot of different things going for it, and it really does provide a unique rendering. I absolutely love this focus tab that they put on the lens here, and I hope that they keep this for the production version. I believe they are, as I've been told. At first, I love the look of it, but I'm like, I wonder how they came up with the shape. So it does kind of throw back to like vintage lenses, and I'll put a picture of an Airy lens here that I took next to this, and you'll see a very similar focus tab. So little elements like that I just love on this lens. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed checking out this video. Here's just a few clips that I shot on my Red Epic in 8K, just kind of showing you some of the bokeh and the rendering that you'll get out of this lens. And being a cinema-based lens, I just wanted to kind of show some of that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.